There are moments when the winds shift, not because you are ready, but because heaven whispered, "Now." That is when the divine steps back, not in abandonment, but in faith, in trust, in holy expectation, waiting to see if you will remember who you are when the fire is hot and the water runs dry. You don't know what you truly believe until believing is the only thing left to do. When the job is gone, when the friends are quiet, when your body aches and your heart is full of unanswered questions, you are standing in the classroom of the Almighty. And He teaches in silence. He teaches in storms. He teaches with the winds of uncertainty and the waves of delay. This is not punishment. This is purpose wrapped in pain. This is preparation dressed in disappointment. There is a kind of growth that doesn't announce itself with laughter and applause. It comes quietly, in the form of doors that don't open, relationships that fall apart, and dreams that don't seem to come true. That's the furnace. That's the testing place. That's the refining fire where all that is false burns away and all that is real begins to rise. When God tests you, He doesn't just want to see if you will pass. He wants to reveal what's inside you that you didn't even know was there. And don't be fooled. These tests are never about your comfort. They are about your calling. They are about breaking you free from the illusions that made you believe that faith only exists in ease. No, real faith is forged in the desert. Real strength is born in the cave where no one sees you, no one claps for you, and no one understands your tears but the one who placed you there. You are not hidden from Him. You are hidden in Him. The test comes to strip you down to your essence. It peels away pride, ego, entitlement, and fear. It uncovers wounds you buried long ago. And as painful as it is, the test is a gift, because on the other side of that test is a version of you that can carry what you prayed for. On the other side of that test is a strength you never knew you had. God tests you to trust you, and He does not test what He does not intend to elevate. But the road to elevation is not paved with gold. It is carved in stone, one step at a time, sometimes with bloody feet and tear-streaked faces. You will cry, you will question, you will want to give up, but if you endure, if you stay, when everything in you wants to run, you will come out gold. Not everyone can survive the silence of a test. Not everyone can worship when the answer is no. But if you can, if you do, then you will walk into blessings that others only dream about. Sometimes the test is not in the losing, it's in the waiting. Waiting for the promise to unfold, waiting for the pain to end, waiting for the next step to be revealed. And it's in that waiting that your character is shaped. You may want clarity, but God wants trust. You may ask for signs, but He asks for surrender. Because faith is not built when everything makes sense. It is built when nothing does, and you choose to believe anyway. When God tests you, He is watching how you treat others in your wilderness. Will you still be kind when you feel forgotten? Will you still serve when you feel unseen? Will you still speak life when all you've tasted is disappointment? The test is in the attitude. The test is in the integrity. It's easy to be faithful in the palace. Can you be faithful in the pit? Some of the most anointed people were tested before they were trusted. They were ridiculed, betrayed, left behind. But what made them chosen wasn't just the calling, it was the crushing. It was their willingness to be faithful in the fire, to trust in the drought, to believe in the dark. You don't get the crown without the cross. You don't get the breakthrough without the burden. You don't get the blessing without the battle. And yes, it hurts. Tests are not meant to be easy, but they are meant to be revealing. They show you who you are, and more importantly, they show you who God is, that He is still present in the pain, that He is still speaking in the silence, that He is still working when you feel forgotten. Every tear you cry in the middle of your test is a seed, and God is not unjust to forget the seeds you have sown in faith. Do not let the pressure convince you that the promise is a lie. The pressure is the proof. It's the evidence that something valuable is being formed. Diamonds don't come without pressure. Gold doesn't come without fire. And your purpose doesn't come without testing. You are not being buried, you are being planted. And soon, what's been growing in the dark will burst into the light. Sometimes God delays the blessing not because He is punishing you, but because He is protecting you. You think you're ready, but he sees the cracks in your foundation, and he loves you too much to let you rise on a weak frame. So he tests, he watches, he waits, and he whispers, "Not yet." Because when the time is right, not even the gates of hell can stop what he has prepared for you. But will you trust him when it looks like nothing is happening? Will you obey when the road ahead is full of shadows? Will you believe when every sign points to no? That's where champions are born. That's where leaders are molded. Not on mountaintops, but in valleys. Not in comfort, but in chaos. God doesn't test you to break you. He tests you to build you. And what he's building is eternal. You may not see it now, but one day you'll look back and thank God for the doors he closed, the people he removed, and the seasons he let you cry through. Because all of it was part of the test, and all of it was necessary to bring you to where you're going. Every heartbreak, every delay, every betrayal, it all taught you something. It strengthened your spine. It sharpened your heart. It sharpened your vision. And you are not alone. Many have walked this road before you. Giants who were once broken, warriors who were once weak, prophets who once begged for death in despair, but they endured. And so will you. The test doesn't last forever. The pain doesn't get the final word. The night always gives way to morning. And joy, it does come. Not always how you expected, but always right on time. You may feel forgotten, but you are not forsaken. You may feel overlooked, but you are still chosen. You may feel lost, but you are still guided. And though you walk through the fire, you will not be consumed. You will come out glowing. You will come out stronger. You will come out wiser. The test will not kill you. It will crown you. So when everything in you wants to scream, "Why me?" shift the question. Ask instead, what is being formed in me? Because that's what the test is for. It's not a punishment. It's a platform. It's a divine setup for something greater than you can imagine. And the sooner you stop resisting the test, the sooner you start rising through it. Do not be discouraged by the silence. Do not be disheartened by the wait. God is doing more in your testing season than you can comprehend. He is stretching your capacity. He is strengthening your resolve. He is humbling your heart. And when the test is over, you will not be the same. You will carry an authority you didn't have before. You will speak with a fire that cannot be faked. You will walk with a power that cannot be shaken. And people will wonder how you did it. They'll wonder how you kept smiling when everything around you was falling apart. They'll wonder how you stayed kind when life wasn't kind to you. And you'll know it was the test. It was the fire. It was the hidden season where you learned to trust when there was no evidence. That's where your strength was forged. That's where your roots went deep. That's where your soul became unshakable. So take heart. If you're being tested, it's because there is something within you that is worthy of refining. God only tests what he intends to use, and he never wastes the wound. Every scar will become a story. Every ache will become an answer. Every no will become a new door. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. And when the preparation is complete, the world will witness the unveiling of a life that was built in fire, but shines like gold. And when the unveiling happens, it won't look like fireworks. It won't look like trumpets and parades. It will look like quiet confidence. It will look like you walking into rooms you once cried over. It will look like peace sitting in your chest where fear used to live. That's what the test was shaping. A heart so steady it doesn't shatter when people leave. A soul so anchored it doesn't sink when storms rise. A mind so renewed it doesn't break under pressure. You are becoming something that cannot be moved because you have stood in the middle of everything that tried to move you and survived. The test is the tool of transformation. You prayed for power but didn't know it would come through pain. You asked for wisdom but didn't know it would be born through wandering. You cried for favor but didn't know it would be wrapped in fire. This is the holy contradiction of testing. It disguises the blessing until you're strong enough to carry it. And sometimes the blessing isn't what you gain, it's what you become. It's who you rise into after you've endured what others ran from. You see, life isn't just about getting to the promise. It's about becoming the person who can steward the promise. And God in his mercy will not give you a destiny you're too weak to hold. So, He tests. He allows the friction. He permits the silence. Not to destroy you, but to discipline the greatness within you. Because greatness without character becomes poison, and promotion without preparation becomes a curse. So if you feel like you're being broken down, trust that it's not the end. It's the breaking of the shell around your destiny. There's a sacred kind of loneliness in the test, because no one else can feel it like you do. You can be surrounded by people and still feel like you're walking alone. But the isolation is not punishment, it is consecration. You're not just going through something, you're going through something with God. And that makes all the difference. Because even when you feel like He's silent, He is still guiding every step. Even when your heart aches from waiting, He is watching over every detail. There is not 1 second of your pain that has gone unnoticed. There is not one tear that hasn't been seen. And while others may not understand, He does, deeply, intimately, eternally. There are layers within you that only fire can bring to the surface. Hidden strength, buried resilience, sacred wisdom, unshakable joy. These are not found in the sunshine, they are cultivated in the darkness. And though it feels like God is testing you, maybe He's also trusting you, with depth, with weight, with an anointing that costs something. Because nothing sacred is ever handed out lightly. It must be formed in silence. It must be tested under pressure. It must be protected in the quiet spaces between who you were and who you are becoming. And no, not everyone will see it. Not everyone will understand what you're carrying. That's why the test feels so lonely. But that loneliness is proof of the weight on your life. You are not ordinary. Ordinary lives don't require extraordinary tests. But you are being called into something higher, something greater. And though it hurts, though it stretches you, though it breaks you down in places you thought was strong, what's being built is eternal. You might not have asked for this journey, but it was assigned to you. And the fact that you're still standing, still breathing, still choosing to hope, even when you're tired, that's strength. That's victory in its purest form. Not perfection, not never falling, but rising, again and again, with tears in your eyes and fire in your bones. Because something in you knows this test has a purpose, and something in you refuses to quit. Don't believe the lie that this season defines you. It doesn't. It refines you. It cleanses your motives. It clarifies your vision. It silences the noise of everything that doesn't matter. And when it's done, you'll see with new eyes. You'll walk with new wisdom. You'll speak with new authority. Because the test wasn't just about what you lost. It was about what you gained in the losing. Perspective, maturity, strength, compassion, all treasures formed in the fires of difficulty. And while others chase the spotlight, you are learning how to shine in secret. While others chase applause, you are learning how to stand in silence. And that strength, the kind that doesn't need an audience to be real, that's the kind of strength that changes the world. Because you're not building a life for people to admire. You're building a legacy that heaven can trust. So keep walking, even if the road is narrow, even if the nights are long, even if your legs tremble beneath the weight of it all. Keep going. Because every step you take in obedience is a seed planted in eternity. Every choice to trust when you don't understand is a victory in the Spirit. And every day you wake up and say, I'm still here, you're winning a battle that others can't even see. And you may not be where you want to be, but you're no longer where you used to be, and that matters. Growth doesn't always shout, it whispers. It shows up in how you respond when you're hurt, in how you choose patience when you could choose anger, in how you forgive without being asked. These are the quiet victories of the test, and they matter more than you know. Because in the end, the test was never about the thing you lost. It was about the person you became. It was about growing you into someone who can carry peace in chaos, who can hold love in rejection, who can speak truth in trembling. That kind of person doesn't come easy. They are sculpted by time, refined by fire, molded by tests, and the hands doing the sculpting are holy. You were never meant to break under the weight of this. You were meant to rise, even with wounds, even with scars, even with tears. You are meant to rise because something in you is connected to eternity, and that part of you cannot be defeated. The world can't take it. Time can't wear it down. Failure can't erase it. because it is rooted in something deeper than circumstance. It is rooted in the divine. And so, when you feel like giving up, remember this. The enemy doesn't fight what doesn't have purpose. The pressure you feel is the proof of your potential. The warfare around you is confirmation that there is something in you worth attacking, and that, in itself, is a reason to press forward. You've come too far to quit now. Too much has been planted in your pain for it to be wasted. Too many tears have watered the ground for nothing to grow. Too many nights have been spent praying for this to be the end. No, this is the beginning. This is the emergence. This is the rising. And you will rise not because it's easy, not because you feel ready, but because there's no other option left in your spirit but to keep going. Because God doesn't test to tease, He tests to transform. And your transformation is closer than you think. Every delay, every detour, every disappointment, it has all been weaving together into a tapestry of destiny, one thread at a time, and soon you will see the picture unfold, not just of what you've endured, but of what it made you. And what it made you is powerful. Yes, the fire rages. Yes, the winds howl. But you have learned how to bend and not break, how to tremble and still stand. That is no small thing. That is strength born of storms. Because the test didn't just expose your weakness, it revealed your resilience. You didn't know you could endure like this. You didn't know your soul could stretch this wide. Your faith could stand this tall. Your heart could stay open after being shattered so many times. But now you know. And that knowing is sacred. Every trial became a teacher. Every moment of silence became a sanctuary, and every crack in your heart became a passageway for light to pour in. This is what happens when God tests you, not to leave you broken, but to show you that even in your brokenness, you are beautiful. Even in your questioning, you are still chosen. Even in your weakness, there is wonder working within you. You started this journey thinking the goal was comfort, but the test shifted your vision. Now you know the goal is character. You thought success was the sign of blessing, but now you understand. Survival is a greater testimony. Not because it's glamorous, but because it's real. Because you stood in the shadows of despair and didn't let go of hope. Because you reached for light even when you couldn't feel warmth. As you prayed with cracked lips and a heavy soul, and something inside you still whispered, "I believe." And that whisper is power. That whisper is destiny cracking open its doors. Because every time you chose to believe when belief felt foolish, you were building something eternal, something that cannot be shaken, something that hell cannot steal. That is the fruit of the test. Not applause, not admiration, but a faith so anchored it becomes a home for others who are drowning. You don't talk the way you used to, because the test taught you how to weigh your words. You don't move the way you used to, because you've learned how to carry your calling with care. The version of you that is emerging is not reckless. It is refined. It is not desperate. It is deliberate. That kind of growth can only come through the furnace. And yes, people will wonder how you became so steady. They will try to copy your peace, not knowing it came from battles they never saw. But you will carry it all with grace, because testing humbles the heart. It breaks pride and builds empathy. It softens your eyes to see the pain in others, because you've walked through pain yourself. You've sat in rooms with no answers. You've cried in places that didn't echo back, and now you don't just speak wisdom, you live it. When God tests you, He isn't just checking your faith, He is expanding it. He's not watching to see if you'll break. He's shaping you to bless others. Because some assignments are too heavy for those who have never been through anything. Some callings require a scarred heart to fully understand the depth of the mission. And you, beloved, have been chosen not in spite of your wounds, but because of them. There is something about the soul that has suffered and survived. It carries a fragrance of heaven. It walks with authority that cannot be faked. It prays with power that cannot be learned from books. That's what the test gives you. Substance. Not just the ability to speak, but the ability to be. To be peace in chaos, to be love in hate, to be light in darkness. The world needs more of that, and that is who you are becoming. And perhaps the most beautiful thing of all is that you didn't quit. Maybe you didn't always get it right. Maybe you doubted. Maybe you wept. Maybe you screamed at the sky and begged for it to stop. But you didn't quit. And in not quitting, you wrote a silent victory anthem into the heavens. The angels saw it. Heaven recorded it. You will be rewarded for that perseverance. You didn't know how strong you were until strong was your only option. You didn't know how deep your roots went until the winds came to blow you over. But you're still standing. And that means something. That means everything. Because now you walk with an awareness that can't be taken from you. You carry your lessons like a shield, not to protect yourself from love, but to guard your purpose from anything that seeks to steal it. The test also taught you who's really in your corner. It stripped away the convenient. It revealed the true. It exposed the shallow connections that couldn't survive your valley. And while that hurt, oh, how it hurt, it also set you free. Because now you know who can be trusted. Now you know who's worthy of walking with you into the next chapter. Every chapter written in tears is a page of power waiting to be read by someone who needs hope. You've become a walking testimony. Not because you're perfect, but because you're still here. Because you made it through. Because you believed when there was no sign to believe. And now others will draw strength from your survival. Others will learn how to trust again because they see how you refuse to give up. The test didn't come to destroy you. It came to qualify you. And yes, it cost you something. Maybe it cost you friends, maybe it cost you comfort, maybe it cost you certainty. But what it gave you is worth so much more. It gave you unknowing. It gave you a spiritual vocabulary that only suffering can teach. It gave you a divine intimacy that can't be explained, only experienced. You know now that God doesn't always rescue you from the fire. Sometimes He joins you in it. And somehow His presence in the fire is more powerful than His absence of the flame. That's what changes you. That's what anchors you. That's what carries you through future battles. Knowing He's not a distant observer. He's a present helper. He's not testing to watch you fail. He's testing to reveal what He planted in you before time began. There's a strength that only grows in silence. A clarity that only comes when all the voices fall away. A fire that only burns brighter when it's pressed on every side. You've felt it. You've seen it. You've lived through it. And now you walk differently. You speak differently. You love differently. The test shifted everything inside of you. No longer do you chase approval. You walk in assurance. No longer do you fear the valley. You remember the lessons from the last one. You are not naive anymore. You are wise, not because of books, but because of battles. Not because of titles, but because of trials. That is a wisdom no one can take from you. It is earned. It is sacred. It is divine. So breathe, beloved. Exhale the fear. Let go of the timeline. Stop comparing your process to someone else's progress. This test is tailor-made for your destiny, and it will not last forever. The night will not always be this long. The ache will not always burn this deep. The questions will not always echo unanswered. There will come a moment when the lesson will be clear, when the purpose will be revealed, when the pain will be turned into power. That day is coming, but for now, just don't give up. You are not forgotten in the fire. You are not abandoned in the test. You are being built in secret. You are being refined for something greater. You are being prepared to walk in places you once only dreamed of. And when that day comes, when the doors open, when the light returns, when the tables turn, there will be no doubt. Not in your heart, not in your soul, not in your story. Everyone will know. It was the test that shaped you. It was the pressure that revealed you. And it was God, all along, writing something eternal into your life, with hands that never left you for a second. And when the dust finally settles, when you look back at the wreckage of what once was, you won't just see pain. You will see evidence. Evidence that you survived. Evidence that something holy carried you through it. And in that moment, you will not wish the test away. You will not ask to erase the trial. You will whisper with reverence, it was necessary, because the tears watered something in you that had to grow. The silence taught you how to listen. The waiting taught you how to walk by faith and not by sight. The version of you before the test was hopeful but fragile. You hadn't yet been weathered. You hadn't yet discovered your fireproof places. You believed, but your belief had not yet been forged in flame. But now, you've walked through the shadows, you've faced down fear and kept moving forward. And though the world may not see it, though they may applaud someone else's smoother path, you carry something more valuable. Authentic transformation. You've been humbled by the process. You've seen how quickly life can unravel. You've watched as people who once praised you disappeared in your silence. And that pain, that sting, at first it broke you, but now it's opened your eyes. You no longer place your identity in external validation. You've seen how unstable that can be. Instead, you've turned inward. You've listened to the still voice inside you that says, you are enough, you are loved, you are chosen. There's a quiet courage that grows in those who've been tested, a kind of grace that cannot be duplicated. It shows up in how you comfort others, in how you listen without rushing to fix, in how you walk into a room and bring calm instead of chaos. People may not be able to put it into words, but they feel it. They sense the depth. They see the strength in your eyes, the peace in your presence, and that's the result of the test. God didn't bring the storm to shame you. He allowed the storm to shape you, not into someone else's idea of success, but into His divine intention for your life. The stripping away wasn't cruelty, it was clarity. You didn't lose what you needed, you lost what couldn't carry you into the next season. It felt like abandonment, but it was alignment. It felt like punishment, but it was protection. And isn't it something, how you thought you were being buried, but you were really being planted? Isn't it powerful, how every setback became soil for a stronger foundation? You didn't know how deep your roots were growing, while the world saw nothing but silence on the surface. You didn't realize how much was happening in the unseen places, but now the bloom is coming, now the fruit is forming. And it will not be rushed, because what God is growing in you isn't fragile, it's lasting. The test was never just about the outcome. It was about the internal shift, about letting go of the need to control and learning how to trust, about surrendering the plan you had so you could receive the one that's better, about releasing old identities so your true identity could rise. And now that you've made it through the hardest parts, you see that the pain had purpose, that the waiting was holy, that the delay wasn't denial, it was preparation. You've become someone who prays differently now, not just for things, but for strength, not just for doors, but for discernment. You ask for peace more than platforms. You ask for alignment more than applause. You've tasted the emptiness of success without substance. And now you crave the sacred. You desire the real. You want what lasts. That shift didn't happen by accident. It happened through the test. Some days you still feel the residue of the pain, a scent of the past, a flicker of the fear, and that's okay. Healing is not about forgetting, it's about remembering differently. It's about holding the memory without letting it hold you. It's about walking into the same room that once broke you and standing tall, knowing that it no longer owns you. That kind of healing is miraculous, and it's yours now.